Are we witnessing the final twilight of American hegemony in the Middle East, or just another high-stakes poker game in the desert? Right now, inside the heavily fortified Serena Hotel in the Pakistani capital of Islamabad, something truly unthinkable is unfolding. For the first time in 47 years, the highest-ranking delegations from Washington and Tehran are sitting in the exact same room, breathing the same air. We are talking about a diplomatic deep freeze that stretches all the way back to 1979, an era defined by the Iranian Islamic Revolution and the paralyzing 444-day hostage crisis at the American embassy. For nearly half a century, this relationship has been defined by proxy wars, crippling economic sanctions, and absolute mutual demonization. Yet today, the ice has not just melted, it has been shattered. On one side of the table, you have the senior-most American figures, including J.D. Vance, the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Sitting directly across from them are Iranian heavyweights, including Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Abbas Araqi. But take a step back and look at the sheer geopolitical whiplash of this moment. Just last Tuesday, the American president was standing before the cameras threatening to bomb Iran back to the Stone Age. He threatened to wipe an entire ancient civilization off the map. Fast forward just a few days, and those apocalyptic threats have quietly vanished into the plush carpets of a Pakistani conference room. Washington's threats of total annihilation have become nothing more than a fading thunderstorm, loud enough to rattle the glass, but completely incapable of putting out the geopolitical fire burning in the living room. When a superpower quietly trades the promise of Tomahawk missiles for a cup of tea at the negotiating table, you have to ask yourself, is this a triumph of statesmanship, or the silent admission that the American military stick has finally snapped? Now, let us examine the demands that Tehran has brought to this table, because they are not asking for diplomatic favors, they are dictating terms. According to Iranian state television, Tehran has laid down 4 uncompromising red lines. They are demanding absolute recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, immediate payment of financial reparations, the complete unfreezing of all Iranian financial assets worldwide, and a comprehensive regional ceasefire that crucially includes Lebanon. Midway through these tense discussions, Iranian officials confidently claimed that the United States had already agreed to unfreeze their assets, a statement the American side frantically rushed to deny. But whether Washington admits it or not, the denials are essentially background noise compared to the overwhelming leverage Iran currently holds. We have to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it is a mere 33 kilometers wide, yet it serves as the absolute jugular vein of the modern global economy. Every single day, approximately 21 million barrels of crude oil pass through this incredibly narrow waterway. That represents roughly 1/5 of the entire world's daily liquid fuel consumption. If Tehran decides to permanently drop the geopolitical gates, we are not just looking at a minor spike in gas prices for American consumers. We are looking at an immediate, catastrophic disruption of the global supply chain, skyrocketing maritime insurance premiums, and a hyperinflationary shockwave capable of crashing Western financial markets within weeks. The United States has spent generations and trillions of taxpayer dollars building a global security apparatus. But in the waters of the Persian Gulf, that massive machinery is effectively paralyzed. In the brutal math of modern geopolitics, controlling the Strait of Hormuz is like holding a pair of cold steel pliers firmly around the beating heart of Western capitalism. When you possess the ultimate switch to the global economy, you do not actually need to defeat a superpower on the battlefield. You simply need to make the financial cost of fighting you entirely unendurable. What almost derailed today's crucial negotiations was a desperate display of digital bravado from Washington. The U.S. Central Command, echoing claims loudly repeated by Donald Trump, announced that American warships had successfully breached the Strait of Hormuz, allegedly clearing the waters of explosives and destroying every single Iranian mine layer. Trump took to his social media platform to paint a picture of absolute cinematic victory. He claimed that 158 Iranian vessels were currently sitting at the bottom of the sea. He declared to his followers that Iran's navy, their radar networks, their air force, and their military leadership were completely and utterly wiped out. But in the unforgiving arena of international geopolitics, social media posts do not win naval engagements. The glaring problem with Washington's narrative is the deafening absence of proof. It defies all logic and reason that the most technologically advanced military apparatus in human history could achieve such a monumental strategic breakthrough and fail to capture a single second of footage to prove it. While Washington offered nothing but empty digital rhetoric, Tehran offered undeniable physical reality. The Iranian military's Qassem al-Anbiya brigade immediately dismantled the American narrative. Ibrahim Azizi, the head of the Iranian Parliament's Security Commission, publicly mocked the American claims, boldly stating that a post on the internet cannot open the Strait of Hormuz, because only Iran holds that key. To twist the knife, Tehran then released crystal-clear video evidence demonstrating their continued undisputed dominance over the entire waterway. This humiliating exchange exposes the terrifying math of modern asymmetric warfare. The United States projects global power through $13 billion nuclear aircraft carriers. But in the shallow, congested, and highly predictable choke points of the Persian Gulf, those majestic floating fortresses become incredibly vulnerable targets. Deploying a massive, multi-billion-dollar naval armada against a highly motivated, decentralized network of cheap sea mines and explosive drones is like swinging a heavy steel broadsword at a swarm of angry hornets. The weapon itself is undoubtedly magnificent, but it is fundamentally the wrong tool for the war you are actually fighting. Even senior American commanders are now quietly admitting this uncomfortable truth on camera. After weeks of throwing the world's most sophisticated military machine at the Iranian coastline, Tehran is effectively winning simply by not losing. When a superpower is reduced to declaring imaginary victories on the internet while its adversary controls the actual ocean, you have to ask if the American empire is finally drowning in its own illusions. Now, you might be asking yourself a very logical question. If Iran holds the ultimate geopolitical trump card in the Strait of Hormuz, and their adversary is reeling, why on earth are they sitting across from the very people who started this fire? To understand Tehran's calculus, you have to understand the absolute, undeniable bankruptcy of the word trust in Washington's modern diplomatic dictionary. The Iranian delegation did not travel to Islamabad with naive optimism. They arrived armed with the cold, hard memories of recent history. They distinctly remember 2018, when Washington unilaterally shredded the JCPOA, a nuclear agreement, destroying a historic multilateral pact that took years of agonizing negotiations to build. They remember the chilling dawn of 2020, when the United States used the implicit cover of diplomatic engagement to assassinate General Qasem Soleimani at the Baghdad airport. As prominent Iranian political analyst, Professor Said Mohammad Marandi pointed out, the historical playbook of the United States, particularly under the Trump umbrella, is fundamentally defined by deception. Even before this most recent devastating conflict, indirect talks were progressing quietly through Oman. The Omani foreign minister had signaled that a breakthrough was imminent, but instead of a diplomatic handshake, Tehran was met with a sudden, devastating blitzkrieg attack. So why are they talking to J.D. Vance and Jared Kushner today? Because Tehran is playing a much larger, completely different game. They are not negotiating to find a genuine solution with Washington. They are negotiating to expose Washington to the rest of the world. They are meticulously building a diplomatic prosecutor's case for the Global South, the BRICS nations, and the global majority. Engaging in high-level diplomacy with the modern American political establishment is like signing a critical, long-term contract on the surface of a frozen river. It might feel completely solid under the political climate of today, but the very moment the partisan winds change in Washington, you are left drowning in a freezing sea of broken promises. Iran is actively demonstrating to the international community that they are always willing to walk through the door of peace, deliberately forcing the United States to be the one who continuously slams it shut. A superpower can occasionally survive the humiliating loss of its military supremacy, but the exact moment it loses its global credibility, the empire is already dead. This is the harsh reality of the new multipolar world. The unipolar moment has not just faded, it has been buried in the sands of the Middle East. What do you think will be the next domino to fall in this grand geopolitical game? Will we see a sudden escalation or a silent retreat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay ahead of the narrative and understand the real forces shaping our world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and stay alert.